Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley. This is another country church in Cumbria. This is the Church of St Bartholomew, Barbon. Now, this is built in 1892 to 3. It replaces a church from about, well, a chapel really, from about 1810 on the same site, which itself replaced a chapel of ease that existed here as far back as 1610. So this is a late Victorian building with all that involves. There are some relics of the previous church here, and we'll see them as we go around. So let's have a look at this impressive Victorian building. As usual, then we start at the west end. And here is one of the relics of the old church. This is the old font, brought here, obviously, after the old church was pulled down. The new font is rather more impressive. This is, of course, a nice Victorian structure, and I have the cover up there, and it's a sort of tub type. The building has a central tower. It's not really a crossing tower because there aren't really transepts, but it has a central tower, which is an interesting feature, and marks it out as quite an impressive structure. We have, as another relic of the old church, this is the royal arms of King George II. George III, surely, but 1815 it says, so it may have been repainted at some point, or one of the figures has dropped off, one of the numerals has dropped off. The War Memorial, we have memorials to we have a war memorial here for the First World War. Thomas Arthur Airlie, Edward Bond, William James Sharp, Lawrence K. Shuttleworth, Edward J. K. Shuttleworth, William Henry Talon. The Shuttleworths were the local bigwigs, and did their bit clearly. So here we are. There are some elements here from the old Methodist chapel, and we'll see them as we come then into here the North Chapel. Here we have memorial to Claude Gifford Jeffrey, captain in Alexander, Princess of Wales' own Yorkshire Regiment, gave his life king country in Flanders, October 25th, 1914. And here we have Mary and Martha. Now, in here are the relics of the Methodists. Wesleyan Chapel, which closed, sadly, in 2005. 150 years after it opened, and that is the font from the Methodist chapel. And in fact, this here is the communion table from the Methodist chapel. So this is the relics of the Methodist chapel, and the congregation essentially combined with the Anglicans. Here is the pulpit, and we go through the screen into the central tower. So it is a bit of a crossing tower, really, because you've got arches either side. Although there's a vestry behind there, I believe. And on this side we have the organ chamber, and there's the organ in there. And into the chancel. Nice old chest there, 1659. That's a domestic one, though not a church one. It would have been somebody's pride and joy in their house, and eventually been brought here. The communion rails appear to be from the Georgian church. We have here a memorial of St. Elizabeth and St. Hilda. That's Elizabeth of Hungary, and of course St. Hilda of Whitby. Again, there is no stained glass in the east window, allowing the worshippers to look out and see the fells beyond. There is a piscina and a sedilia, just what one needs, really. So that is the chancel, and we look back west down the nave, and then we move forward, and up here there's the tower. You can see up further above, but there's a little rope there for the vicar to ring his bell, and we process down, and then you have the south aisle, chapel, whatever, and that's got the parish beer in it, and St Stephen there at the back, and we've got St Anne teaching the Virgin Mary to read, and then the Virgin Mary with the infant child, the infant Christ. A nice bit of woodwork there, a little bit Hobbit holy, and kind of a common thing in this period, of course. And then looking across to the, I suppose it's now the memorial chapel for the Methodists. Other relics of Methodism can be found here. The Methodist chapel's hymn books are found here. We proceed then back to the west end, and here we have the great west window with Christ as the Good Shepherd, and attended by some very Victorian looking angels. This sort of angels as pretty girls is kind of a Victorian thing to do, and part of it was it just allowed the artists to get pretty girls to model for them. I'm exaggerating slightly, but only slightly. So that's the inside here at Barbon. And so here we are outside at St Bartholomew. You can see this nice tower rising here with its clock on it and bells up there. So let's have a look around the building and see what we can see, really. And so, as I say, it's all of a piece. It's all from the 1890s, and the congregation today is essentially a joint Methodist and Anglican Methodist. After they closed the Methodist chapel, what they did was they combined with the Anglicans on one site, which I suppose means, you know, if you haven't got any differences with them anymore, then it makes sense. So it is a crossing tower, because you have got these what look like little transepts, although one's actually the vestry and the other the organ chamber, and then you've got the chancel. So it's kind of a fancy arrangement, because cruciform buildings cost more money, they're more complicated. You've got to have those four arches, you've got to make sure that your tower is properly balanced so it doesn't come down if you cut holes in it, so it doesn't collapse too readily. So that's the south side. Effectively, it's I'm not sure it is south. It is east-west oriented, because very often these older buildings weren't, because they didn't need to be. You know, there is a tradition of the east-west orientation. The idea, of course, is that you're facing east for the sunrise. But it's just a symbolic thing, and sometimes, in fact, they're not actually east-west at all. They are something else, and particularly somewhere like this, which is a chapel of ease that's built perhaps in the 17th century. So that is the tower again on the north side, and you can see the vestry behind the organ chamber there. And here we've got family plot. Nice variegated holly there. I suspect it gets a trim for Christmas every year. It certainly would if Anglican churches I know anything go by. And round the back here, it's got a nice churchyard, obviously been laid out by the Shuttleworth family, and so you've got these bits of topiary and such like, and we get through here into the rather more interesting and unusual part, because here we have the beer house, and then there's this as well, which is a shed. So you've got memorials over here, and the Garnet family, I believe. Yes. So that is Barbon Church, St Bartholomew's. Before, I've just noticed something. You'll notice that there's this wall seems to continue along over to there, and they seem to link up. So I do wonder, is this where the old school was, or perhaps the previous chapel? Because this is certainly the site of a building, and parts of it have been preserved, and parts of it have not. So is this part of the previous chapel, or is this part of an old school that's sort of on the site? Because we know there was a school here, and you can see that that's had an opening on the side. So I do wonder, what is the school, what is the previous chapel? They built the church further towards the road than the chapel was originally. Something to contemplate, I suppose. Also, there you have it, St Bartholomew's Barbon. I don't have the answers to whether the site I just noticed was the school or the church or the old chapel, but it could have been one or the other. But Victorian church, older site, and a very lovely example of sort of Victorian building that's not huge, but it has presence, which is what you need perhaps up here in the Fells, because you don't want anything too big, because heating costs money. Well, thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.